Alright, hey everybody, it's beginning of October. I've been trying to fit this in for about a week or so actually, but it's time for a new pickups video, and I'm trying to definitely get this done pretty quick because like I said, I have really not had the time to do it. I've got some stuff. Definitely want to talk about it real quick before we really get started too deep into another month of collecting video games. So, like I said, let's do this quickly. Just got one Xbox game this month. This is a big one though, because it's a good exclusive and a good version and a good copy of said exclusive, Elder Scrolls 3, Morrowind, Game of the Year Edition. Got a note about this. I made a huge deal when I had an Xbox, and that was my console growing up, for a decent period of time. The Blockbuster in the town over from me, there was like 5 minutes. This was like a game that they had like on sale, and I made a huge deal out of it. And like, it was their pre-owned selection of games, and I got a version of it that just didn't work. I had to bring it back, and I don't know what I wanted as a kid out of it, but Elder Scrolls is not a game really for me, even though I absolutely love everything about it conceptually. It's just too much open-ended, too much, here's the map and everything. It's a really nice copy, actually. And I'm really glad I got a good price on it. I cannot remember what it was, that price, but I know I was like, ooh, if it's Game of the Year edition, then I want it. That's me pulling the trigger on it. But yeah, like, 11-year-old me did not really get it, and I don't know, I like Morrowind. Like, I just like that they have different regions, and I like that, you know, the consoleized versions have become kind of the really, you know, really solid versions of Elder Scrolls, but I need to, like, hunker down and really get into an Elder Scrolls game, and this might be the one that really ropes me in if I try it again, but I don't know. But I have the really nice version and a really nice copy of a good Xbox exclusive that you should have. Like, it's one to make a note of to have on your Xbox list. Next, only one PS2 game, but it's also a good one, Klonoa 2. So I've got the Wii remake of Klonoa 1. I also could play it on the PS1 with one of those little True Blue things I have. And I've got Klonoa 2. Really good. You'll see them on like everybody's hidden gems list, which means that they're now very expensive. But really cool to have Klonoa 2 on the PS2. One, you'd be surprised, Wii U game, actually. I'm really glad that I waited on this, especially because I still didn't even want to buy it because the new Tokyo Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games looks so good, and I really want to get that. But this is Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, and I've come around on the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games because all I realized was that the first one is the bad one, the first one is the one that I've played. But I picked up the winter one, or not the first winter one, I picked up the Wii U winter one, which is a lot cheaper than this one. This used to be like $70 though, and I waited and I paid like $32 for it. So I'm really glad that I waited on this, and now, unfortunately, that leaves only one Wii U game that I actually would be interested in that I don't have, and it's Wii Sports Club. So now that it's the only one other than two Zeldas that I have on other systems, now I want to get Wii Sports Club, because it is unique on the Wii U. It is a fun one. It's still up there. It's in the same realm as Mario and Sonic at Rio. And then just to keep going with one Wii game, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Funny one about this is a super late Wii release. I think it's 2011, which definitely qualifies as super late. And the really interesting thing to me about Kirby's Return to Dreamland, I have Kirby's Epic Yarn, I have Kirby's Dream Collection, I of course have Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. And the weird thing to me about this particular Kirby game is Nintendo seems to really want to reinvent the wheel on their franchises all the time. They do it with every Mario game. They really make a lot of changes, unless you're talking like Mario Galaxy 2 wasn't that big of a change, but like it was so good, like they shouldn't have done anything. It was the same console. This, again, same console as Epic Yarn, which was very different, and then Rainbow Curse was very different. And this one just seems like they put all their eggs in the basket of co-op, which is nothing wrong with that at all, because that's super cool. Anytime you do co-op really well is good. But I feel like this flew under the radar, not because it was late, but because they didn't do anything that different with it. They went with a pretty straightforward and therefore probably really good Kirby game. And I'm glad that I finally picked it up. It used to be, sought after, like because it's Kirby. It's a first party game, and it's hard for it to come by. And I think I only paid like $10 for it, which is really good. So cool. There's that. And I don't have just one GameCube game. I do have a handful of GameCube games here. I'll start with this just because the explanation for picking it up is easy. I thought I had this. I figured I did. I didn't. It's got good courses in it, and I didn't have it. Tiger Woods '06. I just like golf games. I've still really been playing a lot of different golf games, not just my Golden Tee machine. But I've been wanting to play different golf games to play a different style of golf game control-wise. So, Tiger 06, add it to the collection of Tiger games. Disney's PK Out of the Shadows. From what I heard, not that great, but a really interesting sort of comic book adaptation that they tried to go with for Donald Duck. Reminds me of how they did like Maui Mallard. Maui Mallard has a great Super Nintendo game, super late Super Nintendo game. And this kind of reminds me of it. I see it all the time on PS2 and a little bit on GameCube as well. I grabbed it for GameCube for a couple bucks. Because it's a 3D action platformer game. Not downright bad, but it's not great from what I heard, so I only paid a couple bucks for it. On the other hand, Super Mario Strikers, the first of the two Mario Soccer games. The reason I didn't get this for a long time was because Mario Strikers Charged was a game that I got really into when I first had a Wii, like 10 years ago now. 10 plus years ago, actually. And I remember Mario Strikers Charged was the first Nintendo Wi-Fi game on the Wii. So I played a lot of that, especially I used it online a lot. And then Super Mario Strikers, like, it's kind of the opposite for me of the baseball game where I've played the GameCube baseball game a lot, and I've not touched the Wii baseball game, Super Sluggers. On the other hand, I've played a ton of Mario Strikers Charged, and I've not really touched the GameCube one, but now I did pick it up just to kind of like fill out that, got all the Mario Sports games on the GameCube. So cool, glad to have that. Especially because people are crazy over that game now. And then there's no love for Mario Strikers Charged. What's up with that? Again, a 3D action platformy type of game on the GameCube that's not supposed to be that great, but very interesting to me because it's about dinosaurs. Dinotopia, the Sunstone Odyssey. I believe this is based on another media franchise, but I've never seen anything for it ever. I think it's like based on existing characters, and I could not tell you anything about those existing characters. Interesting looking game. It's published by TDK, so it's probably not great. We all know that going into it, but not expensive. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. I now own 2 of the bongo games, and I don't actually have a pair of bongos in my house. Not that I couldn't get one pretty quickly and cheaply. But Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. I'd rather play this with bongos that I don't have than buy the Wii version for the Wii Remote Nunchuck controls. However, I have got my eyes peeled for Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, which is that exact control scheme. You'll probably see me pick that up in the next month or two. Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. But Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, kind of the closest thing to a Donkey Kong Country we got for years. Between the third Donkey Kong Country game and the first Donkey Kong Country Returns game, this was the closest thing we got to a platformer, and it was the weird bongo thing. Like I said, reinventing the wheel on all their main franchises. This is a printed cover of this game. I paid like $12 for this as a disc only, and I knew that it was a disc only, and I was like, you know what, I really want to make that freeloader disc that I got from my GameCube actually worth having. And so I got this game that I had read about in the GameCube anthology and always thought was interesting, even though it was like kind of a so-so game. This is called Knights of the Temple Infernal Crusade, and again, it is published by TDK, so I'm not expecting the greatest thing in the world. However, it does have a lot of things going for it that I think are going to be really interesting, and that's why I wanted it. So first of all, the subject matter, Knights of the Temple, just, hack and slash, first of all, genre. And just a story like sort of like the Knights Templar and stuff. Gonna be into it. From screenshots, it actually graphically and like camera angles and control wise, it looks a lot like Eternal Darkness. I'm not expecting this game's gonna be Eternal Darkness, but it does feel-wise, when I look at it, remind me a lot of that. Oh, by the way, it did come in a PAL GameCube case. It just didn't have the cover on it. You ever see these PAL GameCube cases? They're weird. They're so different from ours. And so different from Japan's. And then I had not looked this up. I had not heard anything about this before I got this game, before I said, I want this game and I want to buy it. Oh, it's also by Starbreeze Studios, who went on to make The Darkness. And I love The Darkness. Fantastic game by The Darkness. And then when I got it and I printed out the cover for it, I was looking at the back of the cover and just reading what was on here. And the soundtrack was done by Within Temptation, which is one of my favorite bands. They suck now. Their last album was boring. But Within Temptation wrote this soundtrack for this game. Totally fits them, especially around that time. And this came out actually right after the album that makes them, like, is one of my top 10 favorite albums, I think, and the album that largely makes them one of my favorite bands. It came out right after Mother Earth, which I think was in 2002 or 3. And this game came out in 2004. So, like, they wrote the soundtrack for this game, which I understand is not going to be, like, outright heavy metal, symphonic metal, stuff like that, but it's going to have a lot of their tendencies, and I just think it's cool to have that. Within Temptation wrote this soundtrack for a game right after they wrote the album that I love them for so much. So just a lot of things that I think I'm going to like about that game. I'm glad to have a game that makes my freeloader worth having, and it's that game. A couple cartridges here. Let's start with the couple Genesis ones on top. Jungle Book. Grab the Jungle Book because it's like the Disney platformer that people really like. Not expecting it to be the greatest thing in the world, but Disney platformer, people like it. It's got good animation and stuff, and it's still cheap. So I just figured I'd grab it because it's like Aladdin, have it, Lion King, have it, Goof Troop, have it, all that other stuff. Have a bunch of the Mickey Mouse games. Don't have Jungle Book though, and it's super cheap. Acme All-Stars, Tiny Toons, Acme All-Stars. Really, really interesting to me that basically at the exact same time, or within the same time period, the Genesis got a Konami-published Tiny Toons basketball game. And I think there's soccer in here as well. But I only ever look at it and see the basketball thing on the cover. And I think there's like a soccer net like right here. It's so obscured. I look at this and I'm like, hey, it's Tiny Toon Adventures Basketball. So Konami published, like many of the Tiny Toons games, basketball game on the Genesis. At almost the exact same time, or in the same time frame, the Super Nintendo got an exclusive Looney Tunes basketball game, not Tiny Toons, but Looney Tunes, published by Sunsoft. And I just think that's so funny that they both got their own basketball game for exclusive systems for similar affiliated cartoons published by two different companies. And then finally, I really like this game. It's not very impressive. It's impressive for the Genesis. It's Zero Tolerance, a first-person shooter on the Genesis by Accolade. There's not a lot I could really tell you about it. I just like the idea of it and the fact that it exists so much, I eventually had to grab it. And this was the time I did. And then on the other side of things, Super Nintendo, I got Super Pinball Behind the Mask, which is a game I pretty much figured was shovelware for a long time, but if you look at it and consider I love video game pinball, I love pinball, and I love pinball video games, doesn't go above and beyond to do things you couldn't do with a real pinball table, and it's not real pinball tables. But it's pretty solid for a pinball game, so definitely cool stuff in there. And it's still cheap. It's also published by Technos, which the Technos logo is not on every cartridge. There's definitely multiple printings of it, but I got a Technos copy. Ken Griffey Jr. Major League Baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. I just call this Major League Baseball starring Ken Griffey Jr. is the N64 one. It's so easy to confuse the order of the words, but Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. Probably the most solid example of baseball on the Super Nintendo by most people's account. And it has funny names for the players. So that's cool. Gotta love that. Eventually had to pick this up, but people really want this game. It's going for $10 or so for a sports game, so I eventually figured I have to grab it. And then this is an important one here. I got Disney's Aladdin for the Super Nintendo. I've always been the Genesis side. Always preferred that version. Every time I've ever thought about it, I was like, do I really see this big difference in how much I like the Super Nintendo version versus the Genesis version? And I kind of do. I always feel like when I start playing the Super Nintendo version just to try it out, I always go, I could just be playing the Genesis version. But next month, you'll see it in my video next month because I'm getting it first day. The Lion King, or this coming month because it's already October. But the Lion King and Aladdin package is coming out on the Switch, and there's no Super Nintendo version Aladdin on that. My understanding right now at this point in time is that they're going to have Super Nintendo, Genesis, and Game Boy versions of Lion King and Game Boy and Genesis versions of Aladdin. That might not be true. I'm starting to think it's not going to be that way, but for sure it's not going to be a Super Nintendo version of Aladdin because it's Capcom and they probably didn't want to work together, whatever. So I figured, grab this now before this is the one that people really want to get because they don't have it on their Switch. And one DS game, this is actually a DS game that I've actually been wanting for a long time and never went out of my way to go find it because I still couldn't really tell you what it's about, but it's supposed to be cool and interesting. It's published by Axis. It's made by it's Arc System Works and some weird developer I don't really know. But it's called Theresia, not Theresa. It's Theresia. It's a horror adventure type of game on the DS, and one of a dozen games tops that's M-rated on the DS. And there are some that you think of right away and that seem obvious: Resident Evil, Mortal Kombat, Dementium. Everyone talks about Dementium at this point, especially because it's October. But this is kind of the one that nobody realizes exists. It's Theresia. It's weird. It's weird looking. I'm into it though, and it's because it's a horror game and it's not very well known, but it's supposed to be decent. It actually has been going up in price, and I grabbed it when I realized that. So I paid $25 for this, but I'm glad I got it before it continues to go up. The two PS1 games, real quick. Fear Effect 2. Really glad to grab Fear Effect 2 because it's the one you see a lot less. You see the first one fairly often, but I don't see the second one very often at all. I need to play them because they seem really interesting and a really cool attempt at CGI, not CGI, everything's CGI, it's a video game. Cutscene heavy, but really well done cutscenes because it's in-engine and everything for, an adventure game on PS1. This is the second one. I gotta play them. They seem super cool. And then this, I got this off Declutter, and I did not expect them to kind of ever have this happen. But I'm not surprised. I'm not that surprised. Someone printed all of the sides for this, all of the artwork for this. This is Blast Lacrosse. It is a lacrosse game. And holy shit, no one has ever made a lacrosse game that I know of. It's like they have a ton of rugby and cricket games, and we get the rugby games sometimes. We don't get the cricket games, though. And I'm I don't think any place has lacrosse games, though. It's not like it's a regional thing. America is the lacrosse region, and there's still not enough call for it. And yeah, one game made by Acclaim for the PS1. I finally got it. I think I paid $8 for it. And I almost sent it back, but I was you know what? This could happen to me regularly from Declutter, and it doesn't. So I was just I'll just deal with it. I'm just glad to have Blast Lacrosse. I don't know if it's good or not, but it's a lacrosse game, and that just doesn't happen. Two very different PS4 games. NBA Live 18. This is dirt cheap now because it's now 2 years out, and I wanted to get it for a long time because it's got a story mode in it, much like Madden 18. And I think Live came back pretty strong to compete with 2K. 2K still dominates, but I think Live is doing pretty well now. Starting with this one where they had James Harden. And I also gotta say, this is the last, I think the last EA Sports game I'm gonna buy that's not gonna have this. But I hate the EA Sports covers now. The 19 and 20 covers that they're coming out with the bright colored, solid colored backgrounds. I hate them. I think they're so ugly. I'm gonna end up picking up 19 or 20 for NHL at some point, but This doesn't have it, but just tell me if you agree with me. I hate them. I think they look hideous. And Superhot VR. European import, as you can see here. One of the big VR games that everyone tells you to get, and I have not had the chance to play it yet, because I need to get back into playing my VR stuff. I did throw it on the other night to play Zen Studios Pinball in VR, which was super cool. I need to get back into the habit of doing it, but I'm playing so much Switch lately. And this is one. This is like the one that everyone tells you to get. It's all about like that bullet time. Really good with the Move controllers. Yeah, really cool stuff. There is regular Superhot, I believe, on the Switch, but the VR thing is like, it is a big game for VR. So looking forward to trying out some of the VR games I have bought like almost immediately after getting the headset and haven't played yet. I've got, lastly, a couple Switch games. There is so much coming out for the Switch. I'm so overwhelmed right now. Between now and Christmas, I feel like my next 3, they should just be all Switch games, because if I buy Switch games and other stuff, I'm screwed, especially for the holidays. But yeah, I swear, before I even get into any of these, I think my upcoming or keep your eye on them, pick them up at some point for Switch games list is like 30, 40 games long. But anyway, I kept waiting on this, and I really wanted it as soon as it came out, but I definitely didn't want to pay the full price for it. So I took it upon myself to search it one day and see how much they were going for, and I got this NBA 2K18 with Shaq on it, big box, sealed for $12. I don't know why I didn't just look earlier, but I'm really glad to have only paid $12 for this. And I did open it. It was sealed, but I opened it for the poster. Gotta have that Shaq. Love it. You'll see this one, people posting a lot lately. Zelda Link's Awakening. Already finished it. Fantastic. Loved it. Anytime that I can actually finish a Zelda game and add it to the list of Zelda games I've actually beaten, I'm so for that. I'm really glad to have played this. It's really, really interesting and unique for the 2D Zelda games. And I'm glad that they remade this one, honestly, because I probably would have not gone out of my way to play it otherwise. But now I really want to play Link to the Past, because I've never beaten that either. I've barely even played Link to the Past. But now I'm in a mood where I want to play a 2D Zelda, but I just played a 2D Zelda, and I need to hold off a little bit, but I'll come back to it soon enough. Spyro Reignited Trilogy. I tried each of them. No, I didn't even really try Year of the Dragon out. It looks great. It plays great. It's awesome. It's what I wanted. I'm always going to be more of a Crash fan, but I knew as soon as this was announced, I'm like, that's coming to Switch. I'm going to wait for it on the Switch. I'm going to buy it on the Switch. And it's great. It's great. It's everything that it should be. Star Wars Pinball. I kept telling myself to wait on this, but I couldn't help it, because I did not expect it to have as much to it as it does. It's Zen Studios, who I just mentioned. I played their VR pinball. It was awesome. They make pinball effects. Pinball effects. I think they're on 3 now. And I was like, oh, that'll be cool. It's like $30. It'll probably have a couple tables in it. It's got 19 tables. They're all original tables. They all look super cool. All different types of Star Wars themes and stuff. And it's got like a career mode. It's got a good structure to the single player. It's only $30. I really recommend picking it up. I've only played a couple tables of it, but I really like it. I'm glad that I got it. Not much else to say about it. It's really good pinball, and it's all Star Wars stuff. If you like that, can't recommend it enough, really. And then lastly, just got this in yesterday, and I definitely need to fire it up, because I keep doing this thing where I say, man, I do this for work, and in Yu-Gi-Oh, I have no idea what's going on with Yu-Gi-Oh. I look at these cards, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, I gotta play one of the games, and I gotta figure it out. And this, I just paid like $26 for this for Amazon Warehouse. And I'm like, cool. You got it for cheap. You can go play it, and you can know what the hell you're talking about for actually playing the game. But I just got it the other day, so I have time to do that before I start hating myself for not playing it. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution for the Switch. It's supposed to be pretty good. It's got like 9,000 cards in it. The animations look pretty sweet. I just need to try it out for learning experience for myself. But it's supposed to be pretty good. So if you're into Yu-Gi-Oh! And you want another game to succeed, this is the one. So far is what I've seen. Like I said, I haven't played it myself. So yeah, I thought it was going to be kind of a lean month. It doesn't really feel like it was. But hopefully most of what I do the next couple months is just Switch, because damn, there's so much coming up for the Switch. It's crazy. And it's going to hurt. But anyway, thanks for checking that out with me. I'll see you next month.